We haven't done a recording in a while because I went to Spain and the Netherlands. All recording just went out the window.
Well, I mean, we prepared for it. This is why you make schedules and prepare for things.
True.
So you can do stuff like go on vacation.
It was such a good vacation. It's starting to turn to spring over there. But even like in April, usually the Netherlands are still cold. And I was so surprised because like all 4 days I was there, it was sunshine and it was so nice. And I went to Kijkenhof and I was able to go see the tulips in the sunshine and it was so pretty. But that's how they fool you, Sarah. They're like, yeah, let's move to the Netherlands. And then the moment you move there, they're like, whoops, did we forget to tell you that it's like cloudy and rainy like 340 days out of 365 days?
I'm loving our spring weather here. We're a little warm for the season, but the temperatures went boom right back down this week.
Really?
Yeah, so everybody's like, don't trust this.
Lies, it's lies. I love that because that's how readers sometimes feel when they read novels. They're like, don't trust the author. They're telling us lies.
So my newest book that I'm writing, I put it out to my beta group. They got through the prologue and the first chapter, and they're like, I feel like what the characters in the prologue said are not what the characters in the first chapter are saying. I'm like, welcome to my unreliable narrator. You can't believe anything each character says because nobody knows what's going on.
That's a twist on a twist on a twist. The one thing that has been nice about being back home is that I'm able to drink tea again. Nobody had tea for me. And I was just like to drink coffee all the time.
No.
So I'm very happy to be drinking my rooibos tea in my little puppy cup because it's starting to get cold here.
I've got my Maker's Gonna Make cup because I'm trying to put out creative vibes into the world right now.
There you go. There you go. Alrighty. I am excited about this episode. So let's get into it. Hello everyone and welcome to Tea and Tales. I'm Madeleine Einel.
And I'm Sarah Sampson. We want to thank all of our viewers and listeners for tuning in each week. We appreciate all of you. We especially want to thank Bianca Moret and Serena. Thank you for tuning in each week. Today's episode is kind of a fun one. Nell always comes up with these fantastic games, and I appreciate it when she warns me about them before we record them. But this is going to be a fun episode about reading the silent letters.
You know, we talk about writing, and naturally, like, letters are writing. And so for someone who isn't English, when I have to write English or read English or breathe English, like sometimes I'm just like, come on people, what's up with the P before psychologist? I'm like, where? Why? And so I can understand why people find it so hard to learn English, because I'm just like, yes, because you write letters that don't even exist in the sounding of these words. So I 1000% stole this idea from Michael McIntyre, whom I absolutely love. Oh my goodness, I love that dude. Do you know who that is?
I do.
Oh my gosh,
yeah.
I just love him so much. He was in South Africa last year, and I'm not a big comedian person, but him, I would go see him anytime, all time, every day, all day.
I've only seen his reels like online, and I'm like, this guy's hilarious.
He's so good. But anyways, so I 1000% stole this idea from his because he had like a silent letter a day skit that he did. I mean, goodness gracious. To go do yourself a favor and just go listen to it because it's hilarious.
I've seen it and I laughed the whole time. It was great.
Right? Okay, so Sarah, can you tell, like, silent letter in English, like, can you think of a few and tell them what they are?
Well, E is the most common one in my opinion.
E, okay,
because you see E at the end of everything and it's supposed to make the other vowel say its name. That's kind of the rule. But then it's silent. It just sits there at the end modifying something else. And so you have to get used to not saying the E and changing a letter before it in the English language. So it's kind of like a double whammy.
Interesting. Like what word?
Like, for example, age. If you were saying it without the A saying its name, it'd be age. But the E at the end changes the A to say A, so it's age without the E pronounced.
Or if the E's not there, just be like, ugh.
Ag, age.
Ooh, it sounds like French.
Right. It's just like we have a lot of silent letters, but when that E's at the end, not only is it silent, but it's making you change a different letter. And so you have to really think
That is
about
interesting.
that
I've never actually thought about the last letter of a word. I've always just thought of like the first letters, like knowledge. What does the K do in there? What? Like, is he like paying rent or something? Like, I don't understand. Same with psychologists, as I said. I'm like,
Oh
colleges.
my
I was like,
goodness.
what's happening there? And then you have through. I'm like, what's up with the g at the end if it's not even said?
Vincent van Gogh or Vincent van Gogh?
Well, no, because it's Vincent van Gogh. Because he's Dutch. Yeah. So technically he is saying all of his letters in his own language.
But if you want to play this game with us, Nell has kindly gone and pulled up a chart of silent letters. And it has all the silent letters that even when I was looking through it, I thought, oh, you're right. Yes, that's silent. I never even thought about that. I mean, I know the word knife and kniff because I've been saying that as a funny thing all the time, but you don't think about things like your silent P's, your silent C's. Like I pronunciate those. Wait, no, we don't. Oh my goodness. I never even realized. It just seemed like it was part of it.
But it just goes to show you how smart your brain actually is. Because I think, like, if you read, for example, like cupboard, like you don't say the P, but your mind, because he's read it once or twice or three times, and he heard the way that you pronounce it, he just assumes that that's how it's going to be said, and he doesn't even think about like the P not being there. I never thought of like as a silent letter. Like if you say like calm, I was like, oh yeah, where is the L in that? Like column. Well, so in Afrikaans it would say column. So you would say all the
It's very
letters.
light. It's a very light L. I feel like there's a very light L in there, but yeah.
I guess it kind of just depends on what accent you use.
I guess. As an English speaker who's currently teaching my daughter how to read, though, yikes. It is starting to come out because she'll look at something and be like,
That's not right.
why are you saying that word that way? I know my sounds. I've been working on them all year, Mom. I don't get it.
This is incorrect. Whoever did this, go to the principal's office because no. Okay, so one idea that I had that we could do is read a little passage from one of our favorite novels, or like a novel that we are currently reading. And I feel like I'm going to sound like a robot because I'm literally going to look at every single word and pronounce every single thing. So this is going to be either fun or it's going to be a big disaster. But either way, I'm going to love what I'm reading because I'm going to be reading out of A Court of Mist and Fury. Wait, let me just see if a Court of Mist and Fury. Okay, sure. Let's go with that one. Okay, because this is 1000% my favorite novel in the Akatar series. And naturally, we have to skip down to chapter 50 because that's where the juice starts running, you know, the juicy parts happen. Yeah, I feel like I'm back in school again because, I don't know if you had to do it in English, but in English, we had to read in front of the class or in front of our teacher. Generally, I don't have a problem reading out loud, but in school, you were just like, nope, I don't even know. Apparently, I can't even read. Like, what are these words? I don't understand. And then you read so fast, so then you stumble over your tongue because, I mean, English is not our first language. And so then you just end up like sweating all over the place and such fun.
You can do it. I have faith.
A Lyrian camp was so distant that my own powers, feeble from the night, before wouldn't get us far. I'm telling you, this is rough. But if that can be those horrible chains to nullify his powers had ash arrows to bring him down, then that poison and hour passed, he didn't get better. No, his golden skin was paling. His breaths were shallow. Rice, and I will stick to that name until the day that I die, is how it's pronounced. Rice, I said softly. He didn't move. I tried shaking him. If he could tell me what the poison was, maybe I could try to find something to help him. He did not awaken. Just going to do that little passage, so that I don't torture people anymore. I literally just wanted to read the one word that I will, till the day I die, will forever be rice, is what I'm saying.
I am a fantasy writer and reader, and so this gets a little bit more interesting when you're adding in words that are made up.
Yep, yes.
And you're adding in things that don't actually exist even in English. This will be fun. I am reading in The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson.
Okay.
Who's surprised? Nobody should be surprised.
Nobody. I mean, yeah, true.
How many times have I talked about that? But The Way of Kings is by far my favorite of all of his books. It happens to be the first one in his Stormlight Archive series. But I'm going to jump to the end of the book. And when I say the end of the book, I mean literally the epilogue end of the book. And why? Because it is my favorite part of the book. And it's got some fun things in here. So let's see how good I do. The man paused. He raised a hand to his head, wavering. Who am I? I am Telenel Elin Ston Esinu, herald of the my G8E. That's weird. That one's hard. Doing the GHs are hard.
You're doing great. You're doing great.
The desolation has come. Oh God, it has come, and I have failed. He slumped forward, hitting the rocky ground, shard bloody, clattering down behind him. It did not vanish. The guards inched forward. One prodded the man with the butt of his spear. I have to check each word and make sure that there's no silent letters. The man who had named himself a herald did not move. What is it we value? Wit, whispered, innovation, originality, novelty, but most importantly, timeliness. I fear you may be too latte, my confused, unfortunate friend.
Love it. Love it. I feel like I probably missed a few in mine because I keep forgetting about the E. So there were probably a few E's that I missed. But so, listeners, the way that we frustrated you right now with the way that we've been reading these is the way that authors might frustrate readers when they read novels with plot holes in them, or novels with no character arc.
It gets harder in these fantasy genres because when we create our own naming convention, we can't tell you what that naming convention is.
True.
Does that make sense? And so you'll start seeing weird marks or weird letters together, words you've never seen before, because I've created my own language. I've created my own names, and I have a rhyme and reason to how they're pronounced and how they're used. But can I just tell you that? Look in the glossary. That's the best I can do. I guess
the author should just make a video and to be like, these are the words. Let's go through them.
Let's go through them so you know how to say this.
Right. No, it's very true. And for me, it is also, I like using names for my main characters that aren't very common, like Stephanie or Michelle or Amber or whatever. And so I must admit, like a lot of my names I do get from the kids that were in my classes, and yeah, that's one. The best ones are the villains. I'm like, I have so many villain names, it's not even funny. And so, for example, like the novel, my novel that I was writing, my main character's name is Eminia, and it's spelled Eminje. And so, well, naturally, because I'm Afrikaans as well, then that's the way that we pronounce it, and that's the way that we can read it. Whereas someone who is English would be like Eminja, and I'm like, nope, but you're close. You're close. It's like Madeleine. Like, English people are like Madeline or like Madeline. And I'm like, again, no, but, thank you for trying. I find it always so fun to, well, first of all, discover new, like, names that you can learn saying. And you know how much fun it is when you actually pronounce it correctly? It's like you get this little shrivel down your back and you're like, ooh, I've achieved something. I feel like there should be like a award system, like a star system or something to be able to do that. But yeah, so I do not write fantasy, but sometimes I would also like use Afrikaans words in my novels, or I have a novel where my main character is in the Netherlands, and so I have a few Dutch words in there. And so naturally, people will just be like, I don't know what this is. And if you are a reader like me, you'll just skip over it, and you're like, it's fine. It's clearly it's not that important because I can't read it.
It does remind you as a writer that you need to be aware of those things that you put in because you need it for flavor. I throw in random words from my languages for flavor to give you more feeling of the world that you're in. I've seen people who write historicals or something like that who will use words from the language that their people are from. Like I've read a few immigration stories where they will use words of the country that people immigrated from, even though they're in the United States, to give you that feeling. But you have to be aware of how much you're using it and if you accurately portray to that reader what those words mean as well. Because I'm probably going to butcher the way to say it. I don't know your language. You don't know my made up languages, obviously. But if I know what that means when I see it the next time, I'm going to know what you mean. It's not going to trip me up as much. It's one of the things as a beta reader that I point out a lot in those types of novels is I could not intuitively figure out what this said. You need to give me some more signals going into it, or my character's head I'm in needs to translate it so that I know what it means, or respond to it in a way in English that I know what it means. And you want to use the words again later. Be intentional with what phrases you use and make them purposeful, not just there for fun. Flavor is good. Flavor has to be deep.
I love that you said that. So it tickles my fancy when I would read a novel and then it would take place in Italy, I don't know. And then the author would like have a whole sentence in Italian, but then they would not explain like what was said. And I'm just like, so every time after that, I just assume that the writer's not going to explain what they said. So then I just kind of skip what the words that I don't know how to read, and then I just move on with my life. And so I was very adamant to be very specific in the way that I wrote my novel when I did my Netherlands one, because I would have a phrase in Dutch, but then I would either have the next sentence, have the character say to someone else what it meant, or I would have them respond with an answer that would show you that that was the question. That I hope was that people would understand that. And I haven't had like people say like, what does this mean? But yeah, and especially like the repetition of words, because a lot of times I would be like, dankjewel. And then I would say it means thank you. And so after a while, I would just be like, dankjewel. I would love for the reader to have that little satisfaction of knowing like, I know that means thank you. Look at me knowing Dutch.
That reminds me of something that one of the editors said in a call, had to be months ago now, but she was reading someone's manuscript who was writing one of those stories I was just talking about where the family was from a different country and they were now in the United States. And the main character kept calling grandma a certain word. And we all assumed that was grandma's name. And come to find out, it's not her name, it's how you say grandma in that language. And so at one point in the chapter, she actually uses grandma's real name and like, what? I thought her name was this and it's this. The editor very kindly said, if that is the word for grandma, then when you first use it, you need to use it as the main character recognizing it as grandma or use it with her name. Like we would say Nanny Leia or something like that. Okay, so that first word is going to be grandma and Leia being her second name. Or use her given name in different ways. Just to orient your reader to this language you can't expect the reader knows, even though you know it super well. And people who are from that community would know it super well. Not all of your readers are from those communities. And so you need to make it clear to them as well.
Very true. So, yeah.
It was great.
I think this was a very successful episode. I had fun. I don't know if you had fun.
Actually, this one was really fun. I think because I was ready.
I'm so disappointed because, okay, so in the beginning I had a game that I wanted to play with you, but then you were like, yeah, but I don't feel well, so I don't want to play this game. So I was like, no, I can't play another game with you. So I was like, maybe you should play the game with me. Okay, are you ready for it?
Okay, what game?
Okay, so you will have to give me a topic that I have to talk about, but I'm not allowed to say the letter S, okay? So every time I say the letter S, you have to at me, and then I have to find a different way of expressing what I wanted to say, but with a different word. Oh, now you're looking for a button.
I am, and I have the perfect thing, and my daughter took it to school today.
Oh,
no!
No! Since our episode is about like silent letters, I decided that we'll just take away letters, and then we'll work with that. Okay, so give me a topic.
Topic of, I want you to speak on airports.
Oh my, about airports?
You should have a lot to say about airports.
Okay, I have to speak about airports or
Aeroports. Aeroportes.
No, it's air.
Well, it depends. If you're speaking Spanish, it's aeroplane.
Okay, listen, we are talking English now, okay? Please, one language at a time,
Okay.
Sarah.
Okay, I want you've just been traveling, you have lots to say about this. It's even an opening scene in one of your books. 1 minute. We'll do a 1 minute table topic on airports.
Okay.
Go.
What happened at the airport? I flew from Africa, bottom Africa, to Netherlands without the last letter. And so it, and what happened is I flew from Amsterdam to Spain, and then, damn it, I flew from Netherlands, Holland. I flew from Holland to the country next to Portugal, and
Okay.
I got off the airplane and I wanted to go get my baggage. And I waited, and the belt moved and moved and moved, and after a while it stopped. And I was like, and after a while it didn't move anymore. And I why is this so okay, and I thought to myself, and I thought odd, and the person and the human
Finish the sentence and we'll be done.
moving toward me told us that we had to move to a different belt. Told the people they had to move to a different belt. That was hard. Oh wow. Now you realize how many words there are that has the letter S in it.
And they kept sneaking in.
They do because sometimes they're not pronounced.
He actually buzzed you on the word next because it has the S sound, but it's spelled with an X. And so I had to catch myself every time you said next. I had to be like, no, next is not spelled with an S. It's okay. She's fine on that one. Move on.
And the same with place. Yeah, that was a fun game. Probably if I speak slower.
It makes me think about the words that you're saying and the words that you're using, though. And it's one of my favorite things. I might use this game in Toastmasters because this sounds like a really fun game to do to them. But in Toastmasters, we try to be very aware of what words we're using and all kinds of filler words, but also using words that grow your vocabulary as well. So you incorporate more words into what you're saying to get your meaning across better and stronger. But we do the same thing in writing. If you can think about how hard it is to take S's out, how hard is it to take thens out of your writing or just out of your writing to be able to recognize not that S is an overused sound, but overused words and able to say it in a different way.
Yep. 100%. Something to think about this week, writers.
Play the game with your writer friends.
There you go. And go watch the Michael McIntyre video.
Because it's hilarious.
Exactly.
We like to keep things short here on Tea and Tales. Get your fingers back on the keyboard and your pens back on paper.
And if you like our community and what we do here, then go follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Threads at Tea and Tales Podcast. And on Twitter /X and TikTok at Podcast Details.
Happy writing.
Bye.